Dzień dobry Państwu. Bardzo proszę o zajęcie miejsc
Good evening. Please take your seats.
i jednocześnie proszę o powstanie.
And I would like you to
Wysłuchamy
stand up.
hymnu
Let's
państwowego.
listen
Bardzo proszę.
to the national hymn.
Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła, kiedy my żyjemy. Co nam obca przemoc wzięła, szanową bierzemy. Marsz, marsz dąbrowski, z ziemi włoskiej do Polski. Zawalimy przewodem, sączyć się z narodem. Marsz, marsz dąbrowski, z ziemi włoskiej do Polski. Zawalimy przewodem, sączyć się z narodem.
Dziękuję, proszę zająć miejsce.
Thank you very much. Please take your seats.
Przepraszam,
Oh,
ale nie mam tego
no.
w spisie.
Sorry, I don't have it in my list.
Jest mi niezmiernie miło otworzyć uroczystość rozpoczęcia roku
I'm very pleased
akademickiego
to open the inauguration of the
2024-2025
academic
w
year
szkołach doktorskich
2024-2025
Uniwersytetu
in the Doctoral Schools
Warszawskiego.
of the University of Warsaw.
Chciałam przywitać
I would
naszych
like to
gości,
greet all of our guests
którzy cały czas towarzyszą nam
who have
od
been
6
here with
lat
us
w
for the last
realizowaniu
6 years
misji szkół
in
doktorskich.
realizing the
Przede
mission of the
wszystkim
doctoral
witam
schools.
serdecznie Jego Magnificencję,
Let
pana,
me greet
profesora
His Magnificence
Aloyzego
Rector,
Nowaka,
Professor
rektora
Alojzy
Uniwersytetu
Nowak,
Warszawskiego.
Rector of the University of Warsaw.
Serdecznie witam pana profesora
Let me
Adama
greet
Niewiadomskiego,
Vice
prorektora
Rector
do spraw
for Doctoral
doktoranckich
and Legal
praw.
Affairs, Professor
To jest
Adam
nowa
Niewiadomski.
funkcja.
It is a new
Bardzo
function,
się cieszę, że
and I'm
szkoły
very
doktorskie
pleased
mają
that the
teraz
doctoral
swojego
schools
przedstawiciela
have
w gronie,
their representatives
rektorskim.
in
Witam
the
profesora
among
Andrzeja
directors.
Tarleckiego, prorektora
Let me
Uniwersytetu Warszawskiego w
greet
kadencji
Andrzej
2016-2020.
Vice Rector of the University in the term 2016-20.
Witam zastępcę Rzecznika Praw
Let me greet
Obywatelskich,
Deputy
pana
Ombudsman
doktora
Dr. Valerii Waczek.
Bardzo mi miło, że pan jest z
I'm
nami.
very pleased to
Witam
have you here with
przedstawicieli
us.
władz wydziałów
Let
Uniwersytetu
me
Warszawskiego.
greet representatives of the
Profesora
authorities
Sławomira
of the
Sęka, dziekana
faculties.
Wydziału Chemii.
Professor Sławomir Sęk, Dean of the Faculty of
Profesor
Chemistry.
Annę Gawkowską,
Professor Aneta
dziekana Wydziału
Gawkowska, Dean of the
Stosowanych Nauk
Faculty of
Społecznych
Applied
i
Social Sciences and
Resocjalizacji.
Resocialization.
Profesora Pawła Łukowa, dziekana Wydziału Filozofii.
Professor Paweł Łukow, Dean
Panią
of the
profesor
Faculty of
Julię
Philosophy.
Kubisę, dziekana
Professor
Wydziału
Julia
Socjologii.
Kubisa, Dean of the Faculty of Sociology.
Panią profesor
Professor Agnieszka
Andrychowicz-Trojanowska,
Andrychowicz-Trojanowska, Dean of the Faculty of Applied Linguistics.
Panią profesor
Agata Zalewska,
dziekana
Dean of the
Wydziału
Faculty
Artes
of Artes Liberales.
Pana profesora
Professor Wojciech
Satuła,
Satua, Dean of the Faculty of Physics. I don't see professor. Professor Małgorzata Karpińska, Dean of the Faculty of Culture and Arts. Professor Jacek Puchalski, Vice Dean for Financial Affairs of the Faculty of Journalism, Information and Book Studies. Professor Katarzyna Kołodziejczyk, Vice Dean for Science of the Faculty of Political Sciences and International Studies.
panią dr Sylwię
Dr. Sylwia Dudek-Mańkowska, Vice Dean for Cooperation and Development of the Faculty of Geography and Regional Studies, Professor Marcin Rzemigała, Vice Dean for Science of the Faculty of Management, Professor Agnieszka Wołowicz, Vice Dean for Science at the Faculty of Pedagogics, Professor Kamil Zajączkowski, Director of the Center for Europe at the University of Warsaw, Dr. Danuta Romaniuk, Director at the Center for Foreign Language Teacher Training and European Education of the University of Warsaw. Let me welcome the representatives of the Scientific Discipline Council. Let me welcome the representatives of the authorities of Doctoral School of the last term, Professor Monika Rykowska, Director of the Doctoral School of Humanities, Professor Agata Bareja-Starzyńska, Vice Director of the Doctoral School of Humanities, but at the same time the Dean of the Faculty of Orientalics, Professor Michał Cyrański, Director of the Interdisciplinary Doctoral School.
Dyrektora Szkoły Doktorskiej Nauk Ścisłych i Przyrodniczych. Bardzo przepraszam.
Oh, sorry. Director of the School of Exact and Natural Sciences, Professor Paweł Stępień, and this is Director of the Interdisciplinary Doctoral Schools, Professor Karol Samsel, Vice Director of the Doctoral School of the Interdisciplinary Doctoral School, and Professor Anna Jupowicz-Ginalska, Vice Director of the Doctoral School of Social Sciences. Let me welcome Chancellor Andrzej Alinkiewicz. Let me welcome the representatives of the Bursary Promotion Office, with which we have cooperated a lot as doctoral schools, the Office of Academic and Student Affairs. Without this office, our doctoral students wouldn't have their scholarships. I am very happy to have you here with us.
Z panem doktorem Jurankiem, naszym byłym doktorantem. Bardzo się cieszę, że
Professor Juranek, our graduate. I'm very happy to have you here with us. And other units of the University of Warsaw, employees of the doctoral schools, and the doctoral students who are here with us, also the graduates. But mostly I would like to welcome our first-year doctoral students, these students that were accepted to the first year to the doctoral schools in the 4 doctoral schools that we have, and which have been functioning for 6 years at the University of Warsaw. Thank you very much for being here, obviously, bravo. I'm very happy to see so many of you here with us. Now I would like His Magnificence Rector, Professor Alojzy Nowak, to speak. Oh, sorry? Vice Rector Lalak is here with us.
Good afternoon. As you can see, Deputy Rector Lalak has perfect timing as he strolled into this room. Dear deans, dear heads of doctoral schools, dear professors, dear PhD candidates, I am extremely pleased that I can meet with you, that we can meet with you, and there are 2 reasons for this ceremony. Similarly to students, you are the most important part of the University of Warsaw. The 25 faculties we have at our university have been honored to accept you for your PhD dissertations writing, carrying out research, and to go into the future with your doctoral degrees. We need you
Warszawa was potrzebuje.
University needs you. Warsaw needs you. Poland needs you.
Edukacja,
Education, research,
stanowią kwintesencję
teaching
współczesnego świata.
are the salt of the earth of the contemporary world,
Praktycznie wszystko
which
można
is
znaleźć w
ever
internecie.
changing. In theory, you can find everything on the web, but this is only
W ostatnim
theory.
czasie kilka wykładów
Recently,
dotyczących
we've
sztucznej
had several
inteligencji,
lectures delivered on artificial intelligence. It is an extraordinary help for gaining knowledge, broadening it, grounding it, but most certainly it doesn't solve all the issues that surround us and that we need to deal with.
Wszystko to spotkacie na Uniwersytecie Warszawskim.
All this is what you will encounter at the University
Będziecie
of
mieli
Warsaw.
do czynienia we wszystkich szkołach ze sztuczną
You will be
inteligencją,
tackling in all doctoral
ze
schools
znakomitymi wykładami, seminariami,
with artificial
sympozjami
intelligence, extraordinary lectures, seminars, symposia.
i mądrości nic nie zastąpi.
However, nothing will replace reason
Koledzy
and
i
wisdom.
koleżanki, którzy
Dear
z wami będą się
colleagues
spotykać i będą prowadzić
that will
zajęcia,
guide you through this period. I'm addressing these words to professors.
albo będą z wami te problemy
You will
rozwiązywać,
show our doctoral students how to solve those problems
jesteście
or
najlepszym
how to
właściwie
think about
okresie
them.
życia naukowego.
You, dear doctoral students, are in
Jak
your
przejrzycie
are
nagrody
in
Nobla w
your
różnych dyscyplinach,
best period of academic life. If you were to look at Nobel Prizes,
one powstały, czy
you
prace,
would
które były
see
nagrodzone,
that in their
niekoniecznie zaraz, jeśli ma
majority,
25 czy 27 lat.
the research that laid
Czasami
basis
będą
for
wtedy, kiedy się ma
Nobel
60 albo
Prizes
więcej.
would be
Ale
carried
zalążkiem
out,
tych prac w znacznej mierze
would
były prace
started
doktorskie.
started to carrying out during the times of working on doctoral dissertation. Unfortunately enough, this is what we have in Poland.
Pozwala
Those
nam
chatbots,
obserwować,
artificial
widzieć
intelligence
prawie
allows us
wszystko,
to
co dzieje się na
see
świecie.
virtually everything that is happening around the world.
Dostęp do wiedzy jest
Digitalization is making
Pozostaje w
access
związku
to
z tym
knowledge
czas
paramount.
możliwości na wykorzystanie tej wiedzy, którą kiedyś
And
trzeba
this
było
gives us more
obserwować,
time
wyjeżdżać
to
za
use the
granicę,
knowledge that we use to
przywozić
photocopy,
sterowane kopie artykułów,
go abroad to
książek i
pick
tak dalej,
the
robić
photocopied
różnego rodzaju
books
wycinki,
or
które
articles. All this
państwo
is at
prawie
the reach
ręką.
of your hand.
Ale to nie oznacza, że
But
problemy
this
są
doesn't
rozwiązane,
mean that problems have been solved.
że wszystko jest
This
jasne,
doesn't
wszystko
mean
jest
that
jasne.
everything is
Zobaczcie,
clear.
jak bardzo zmienił się świat. Właściwie
Look
w każdej
how the
dyscyplinie,
world has changed in virtually
naukach
all
przyrodniczych,
fields, be it
czy to w naukach matematycznych,
natural sciences, mathematics, social sciences, or humanities.
to jest kompletnie inny świat niż ten,
The
który
world
jeszcze
is
10 lat temu,
utterly different from what we
15
had
czy może
10 or
20.
15 or even 7
To
years
wszystko
ago.
przed wami.
All this is what is facing you.
Trafiacie w dobre miejsce.
You are in the right place,
Spotkacie wielu znakomitych
the best place,
kolegów,
as you will meet
koleżanek.
some of the most extraordinary colleagues who will be younger and older than you.
Na Uniwersytet Warszawski w tym roku przyszło prawie 80% wszystkich
have
laureatów olimpiad.
Admitted almost 80%
Ja nie wiem
of
dokładnie,
the
czy to
winners
jest
of
78%,
the
71%,
Olympic
73%.
competition
To jest
at the
nieprawdopodobny
secondary
potencjał
schools.
intelektualny.
This is an extraordinary
Wzrasta
intellectual
bardzo
potential,
dynamicznie liczba osób
where we are experiencing a dynamic growth in the
przychodzą na Uniwersytet Warszawski. Dlaczego o tym mówię?
competition winners
To są
who are
wasi koledzy i koleżanki.
then coming to University of
To z jednej
Warsaw.
strony
I am saying that
będą
because these are your
konkurenci,
colleagues,
Ale z drugiej strony
which on
młodsze
the one hand
koleżanki
will
i
be your
koledzy, z którymi
competitors,
będziecie
but on the
prowadzić
other
zajęcia,
hand, these younger
które
colleagues
znajdą się w
will
waszych
be the ones that you will be
laboratoriach przez was
teaching, that
prowadzone.
you will be
W związku z
having
tym
in your
to
labs,
pojawi się fantastyczny
and therefore
miks taki,
we will have a
powiedziałbym,
perfect mix.
takiej bardzo głębokiej
of
młodości z młodością waszą.
The first youth
W związku
with
z
your
tym
youth.
Istnieje bardzo duża szansa,
That is why there is a
że wszystko,
clear
co
opportunity
będziecie mogli znakomicie
for you
wykorzystać.
to grasp all
Przychodzicie na
the
uniwersytet,
things we offer you.
który ma bardzo
You are
szeroką
coming at the
i głęboką
university which has
współpracę
wide
międzynarodową,
and broad
krajową i
international
międzynarodową.
cooperation. a national cooperation.
Dzisiaj podjęta została decyzja, na pewno słyszeliście,
You have certainly heard that today
od sztucznej inteligencji jest w ostatnim czasie
our
jednym z
AI
najbardziej znanych, jeśli nie najbardziej
expert,
znanym profesorem.
who is
Piotr Sankowski,
the best
znakomity
known
informatyk, znakomity
professor in Poland, Piotr Samkowski. He holds a PhD degree in physics and computer sciences.
Instytut badawczy
That he will lead a
na
research
bazie kilku
institute
najlepszych uczelni
based
polskich,
on
Uniwersytetu Warszawskiego.
few of the best universities in Poland, including University of Warsaw, because we have started this process. I do not want to speak about the turbulences we've seen in the media. There are always some turbulences here or there, but I'm saying that because this institute will have a host of people who have degrees and awards, and those that will be in the process of getting those degrees and awards. So this is also a place for you. As you well know, Poland has an enormous opportunity when it comes to artificial intelligence. In this field, we have leading figures that come from Poland, not only students that are participating in global competitions on algorithmic coding in Europe and globally, but actually these people are taking the decision as to the direction in which the world will head in this field. And this creates also an opportunity for you, not only for mathematicians and natural scientists, but also those who will be writing their dissertations in philosophy, sociology, or even in literary studies. You will find your place. The students of our university, for example, our student of the Faculty of Law, are amongst the 10 best students in the world. Not the best among the CEE countries, universities, not the best of this region, but the best of the entire Europe. I am simply saying that because I want to reassure you that you've taken the best decision you could to coming to this university and these doctoral schools. I want to show you a vast array of what is happening right now at our university. And it is you who will be part and parcel of these developments. We are expecting a lot from you. We expect you to implement your passions. We expect you to realize your dreams. We expect you to head towards your stated goals. And even if you fail at some point, which is normal, as there is nothing certain in this world, we do believe, and this is how the university works, that you will be able to rise and you will repeat your research, your papers, your dissertations. You are coming to a place where the atmosphere is excellent. When I'm talking to my colleagues, heads of doctoral schools, and Adam will help you in this process, in all the important matters, including those related to organization and legal issues. There will be about 2,000 of PhD candidates at the University of Warsaw. This is a sizable number of youth, young people. I think the biggest one, or if not the biggest, one of the biggest doctoral cohort. Some of you will remain here following the completion of your PhD dissertation. Some of you will work on other universities. Some of you will work abroad. Some of you will go and work for the business. It doesn't really matter where will you work. What matters is how will you work. It doesn't really matter what will be the important subject that you will tackle in your dissertation. What matters is how will you do that? Will you take proper research hypothesis, and will your dissertation be logically coherent? And what values will you express? The values are paramount, as we have broad access to knowledge right now. All this is important. If you feel that there is something that is missing at our university, our university, let me say that our university for the past few years have been developing together with 7 other universities, Heidelberg, Sorbonne, Milan, Copenhagen, Charles University, and Geneva University. This is the 4EU Plus Alliance. We are holding a rotating presidency for the next 14 months of the 4EU Plus Alliance. So in a way, we will be shaping the scientific policy of this alliance. Some of your colleagues that will be speaking today are taking part in this endeavor. It is with great pleasure that I must tell you that both PhD candidates and students are getting the best results and are among the best in the alliance in the universities of the alliance that I mentioned. Although the very universities are ranked much higher than University of Warsaw. So we can expect a lot, and we do hope that we'll be able to use what you will do in order to rise in the rankings. I know that the rankings are very often criticized. People think about it from different points of view. But what we say is that if we were in top 100, that will be good. First, we would like to be in the top 200 universities, which would be 0.5 best percent of the best universities in the world. Then we can criticize. This is important because citation indices are growing. Awareness of our university is growing. Students are coming more eagerly, and employers are more eager to offer workplaces to you. And in this term, all of us will have a single term to complete. Within 4 years, both me, deputy rectors, and the heads of doctoral schools will only enjoy 1 term. So I count on you. You can participate in the alliance by researching, by studying, by going abroad. We have just signed a very interesting contract with Silicon Valley, where we've created a center together with Stanford University. This center is to support research and enterprises. There will be a place for you to present your research, to deliver lectures, and to participate in all kinds of seminars. Maybe not all of you will be interested, but those that will be interested will have an opportunity to be there. University of Warsaw has signed about 1,200 contracts. And I think 75 to 80% of these contracts are active. So we have about 900 universities that are accepting you for longer or shorter term stays for research and teaching. Our principle is to support whoever wants to achieve something. If your publication will be accepted for publication, if you are to present, if you are presiding over a conference, if you are leading a section at an association, we will support you financially. The legislator set this system up in a way that you will not experience abundant amounts of funding from the legislator. However, we do have certain reserves. You've had an excellent doctoral students representation who's been fighting for all of you and your funding for you, for your scholarships. It all depends on you. Your heads, your supervisors will help you out.
dofinansowywanie.
And we will fund them as much as we can. That is why we have risen as part of electoral campaign, but not only as part of electoral campaign, your scholarships. And Professor Niewiadomski will tell something more about it, that we are boosting funding for doctoral schools following the electoral campaigns. And he will tell you more about the sources of funding that you can get from us. Because if you have complied with all the conditions, if you are accepted, if you are doing the best of possible research, and if you get results, although you still need to wait sometimes for these results, because it's not like you are carrying out research, maybe you can be a junior researcher, senior researcher, and you still do not know whether you're junior or senior, you don't know what the results of the research will be. That's the point about science. You need to be steadfast, you need to have goals, even if those goals evolve, and then you will be able to count on funding. If you have an interesting life, if you want to have interesting life, if you want to get some beers, go for disco, and by the way, write a PhD dissertation, that's fine. But this is not what we will support at the taxpayer's expense. Your parents can fund it, you yourself can fund it, that is fine. We've got nothing against it. But I do encourage you to treat doctoral schools seriously. But in fact, that does not mean that you shouldn't enjoy your life. All the above average, all the initiatives that go beyond average will be supported. We are not interested in the average, to be honest. We don't want you merely to write PhD dissertation. We want you, and this is what we will be implementing, to be able to get help when it comes to employment following the completion of your dissertation. That is why about a year ago we have decided to set up a new faculty. Perhaps biologists, physicians would be interested in that. We have a medical faculty of medicine, which is a broader concept than just training doctors. And that is why we have 25 faculties right now, and we have set up a fund, the funding scheme that will support deans employing 2 people who are graduates of our doctoral schools. That means that there will be 50 positions with guaranteed employment for a year, with the possibility to extend that period. We do not want to do the inbreeding. We want you to apply for good positions in various countries, in various places. We want you to broaden your knowledge, and we want you to be bold in your research. And the road to being bold passes through being criticized. If you show the results in a different language, in a less known environment, this brings you some pressure, but you need some pressure, a certain level of pressure. As of now, we don't have major competitors around Poland. There are specific institutes, departments, and faculties that compete with University of Warsaw. But as a totality, we don't have that much of a competition. So, we will not be that much satisfied if you were to end up in a regional or local higher educational institution. We don't want you to compete against the lesser Poland. We want you to compete against Oxford
Cokolwiek możecie sobie
or anything you would like to compete with, Cambridge,
jakieś tam hrabstwo jest, prawda?
etc.
To nas bardzo interesuje i będziemy was
This is what we are
absolutnie
interested
w tym
in,
wszystkim
and
wspierać.
we will be supporting you a lot in this
odważni,
endeavor. Be
cieszcie
bold,
się życiem,
enjoy your life,
będziecie zawsze mieli u nas wsparcie.
and you will always be
Natomiast
supported
bardzo
by
was
us.
proszę o jedno,
But I would like to ask you
mianowicie o to,
for one
żebyście
thing.
mieli szacunek
Please
wobec siebie.
respect each other.
Będziemy robić wszystko,
We will
żebyście
do
mieli
whatever we
szacunek
can
wobec was,
to
ale
respect
żebyście
you,
mieli wobec siebie.
and we would like you to have show mutual respect. Universities and University of Warsaw in particular is a bulwark of freedom.
Przekroczycie mury Uniwersytetu Warszawskiego,
By crossing the
zawsze
gates of
u
this
siebie.
university,
Tu wam jest
you
wolno
need to
wszystko
feel at
powiedzieć.
home.
Tu
You
wam
can
wolno
say whatever you
przedstawić
want.
każdą koncepcję.
You can present
Możecie
whatever
mieć
you
różne
want.
upodobania
You can have
polityczne.
different
Różne
political predilections.
religie.
You can have different ideas.
Mogą być
You can
częścią
believe in
waszej
different
egzystencji.
gods.
Nam w tym nic nie przeszkadza. Musicie
That
się tylko
does not
szanować i nie
disturb
naruszać
us at
wolności
all.
innych.
What you need to do at the same time is to respect each other and do not violate the freedoms of others, because your freedom ends when you violate freedoms of others. This is what I am begging you not to do. Everything else you can do. The point is to have a space, to have many spaces in Poland where we feel at home, where we adhere to certain standards, where these standards are then transplanted into other places. Universities and our other higher educational institutions are the single bulwarks of this idea. By taking the decision to becoming members of this diverse family, I don't know if you know that, but our family comprises about 60,000 people, not only students, although of these we have, depending on the way we calculate, about 40,000. But we have also academic staff members, about 9,000 of them, and we have collaborators, about 11, 12,000. Though they come, they deliver one lecture, two lectures, they have one seminar, they do one research project, and then they go. So this is a sizable number of people, and all these people are at your disposal. They are eagerly waiting for you, and we've been waiting for you. And that is why we are a team, and I do believe that you will enjoy this atmosphere, that you'll always feel at home here, that you will never regret that you've come to Warsaw, that you've come from different places of Warsaw, from outside Warsaw, or from outside of Poland, or from the outside of Europe, or from anywhere. And you will have the ability to learn, to study in different languages. At our university, we speak in dozens of languages. So we will always be able to find a place where you will be able to listen to a lecture, to talk and discuss in your language of choice, should you need that. I also have a great hope that you will be part and parcel of our growing cooperation with the so-called external world. Companies, local governments, municipality of Warsaw, politics, parliament, etc., etc. If you were to look at those places who occupy specific positions, then you will be able to learn that about 30 to 35% of them are graduates of University of Warsaw. We are speaking to them more or less in the same languages, it's obvious, but also in the same manner. We want them to have you in their minds, to offer you jobs, to offer you internships, and to be willing to work with you. Out of the graduates of the University of Warsaw, there are some billionaires, about dozens of billionaires, not millionaires, but billionaires. Perhaps the number is too small, but we will be speaking to you as maybe I will be handing over the degree diploma, doctoral degree diploma, and you will be saying that it's not for the mere glory and money that you're carrying out research, but we'll be wishing you financial success, material success. We'll be wishing you to live well. We will also improve the material side of your life.
Być może ktoś z was będzie mieszkał, bo chyba to nie jest zabronione w nowym
And
akademickim,
if some of you will live in the new student house that we have built, it is the first student house in 40, 50 years in Warsaw. It's between 900, 1,000 zlotys, but you have a parking, you have gym space, you have space for bicycles, and it is not so expensive. But if someone would like to give you a place at a student house for 1 zloty, yeah, please take it. We have our money, and I think that in 1 year, maybe a little bit more, we will change the doctoral students' hotel. It is not far away from here. It's some places that are there, and I think you will see that soon. I believe that in your 3rd year, you will be also using the sport facilities, the best and the biggest in Warsaw, not only the academic sports club, but we are also building or starting to build sports center and sports and recreation center, I'm sorry. So some of you who will be doing their research in Ochota will live very close from this area. We have 3 institutions that have great success: the choir, the theater, and the team of dance and song. So there are a lot of opportunities because this is also part of the academic life. Please try everything out. Try feeling at home. Try feeling well. It is very important to us. I would like to thank you at the end. And I would like to thank my colleagues, all of the people that are doing research, your older colleagues, the student government. I would like to thank them for all the work that they are doing that helps you, to the bibliotecaries, to the administrative staff. All these people are happy to see you succeed. It is authentic joy at the University of Warsaw. We'll be trying to do everything to see your success and to give prize to it. So welcome to all of you, and I wish you all best, and thank you for choosing University of Warsaw. Thank you very much. Now, I would like you, Rector, to announce the beginning of the academic year. We can open it together. Okay, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, I announce the beginning of the new academic year 2024-25 in the doctoral schools of the University of Warsaw. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Now I ask you to rise.
Odbierzemy od Państwa ślubowanie. Proszę
We will
o
receive
powtarzanie słów ślubowania. Ślubuję
your oath.
uroczyście,
Please repeat. I solemnly swear
będę wytrwale
that I will
dążyć
persistently pursue the acquisition of knowledge and the development of my personality,
szanować
that
prawa
I
i
will
obyczaje
respect
akademickie
academic laws and customs,
oraz całym
and that I
swoim
will take
postępowaniem
care
dbać o
of the
godność,
dignity
honor
and honor of a
doktoranta,
doctoral student at the University
Uniwersytetu
of Warsaw with my entire conduct.
Bardzo Państwu dziękuję. Proszę o zabranie miejsca.
Thank you very
Proszę
much. Please
chór
take your
o
seats. And I ask the choir for Gaude Mater Polonia.
Dziękuję Państwu bardzo.
Thank you very much. Please take your seats.
Proszę o zabranie głosu pana
I give the floor to the Vice Rector, Professor Adam Niewiadomski, Vice Rector for Doctoral and Legal Affairs.
Magnificencjo,
His
szanowni panowie rektorzy,
Magnificence,
szanowny panie rzeczniku,
dear
szanowni
rectors,
państwo dziekani,
dear
szanowni
ombudsman,
państwo dyrektorzy, panie
dear
przewodniczący,
deans, dear directors,
szanowne doktorantki,
dear
doktoranci,
head,
w
dear doctoral
szczególności pierwszego
students,
roku.
especially those
Wstępując
from the
po
first
panu
year.
rektorze, ciężko coś dodać.
Speaking after
bo
His
cytat
Magnificence,
tutaj
it is
ze
difficult
ślubowania
to add
o tym, że nie
something,
będą państwo dla czczej mamony pracować, też miałem,
because I
ale już nie
wanted
będziemy
to
przypominać.
talk about the fact that
W
we
szczególności
wouldn't like you
w
to work
kontekście
just for the money,
dzisiejszego dnia, no bo
especially
dzięki
today,
pracy
because
samorządu
thanks to
i
the
szczodrości
work
pana rektora
of
dzisiaj
the
zmieniliśmy
government,
trochę w życiu stypendialnym. Państwo
we
jako
have changed a lot of
doktoranci
things,
doktorskich
and
otrzymują
you, as the
stypendia,
doctoral
które państwu
students,
przysługują z
are
ustawy. Trzeba
getting
podkreślić najwyższe w
scholarships
Polsce. Jednocześnie
that are the highest in
wspieramy
Poland, and at the same time
funduszu
we are
subwencyjnego, ale także
supporting
z funduszu
by
własnych
other
uniwersytetów.
scholarships, also from our
Dla
own
pierwszego roku
university
są to
money.
stypendia programu na start.
For the first year,
gdzie
we
najlepsi
have
z państwa otrzymają
scholarships
takie stypendia już niedługo.
for the
Natomiast
start,
dla
you will
doktorantek
receive
i
them soon,
doktorantów
and
od
for
drugiego
the
do czwartego roku
doctoral
dzisiaj zmieniliśmy
students
system
from the
stypendialny.
second to the fourth year,
Podnieśliśmy
we have
wysokość
changed
globalną
the
tych
scholarship
stypendiów
system and we
za
have raised
osiągnięcia
the
naukowe,
money
z tym, że tutaj te
for
osiągnięcia naukowe zgodnie z
academic
powszechną
success.
wolą doktorantek i doktorantek
and
są-
according to
doktorantów są,
the will of the doctoral students
oceniane
themselves,
dosyć łagodnie.
they are
Często i te
judged
stypendia jednostkowe
in a
są
kind way.
tak, jak państwo doktoranci sobie życzyli.
It was the
Natomiast,
will of the doctoral
jako pierwsi w
students.
Polsce dzisiaj też,
But
zgodnie z wolą
as
pana
the
rektora,
first university
utworzyliśmy
in
program
Poland,
stypendialny,
we
zwany Stypendium na
created
5.
the scholarship
Jest to
program
stypendium
called
przeznaczone dla
Scholarship
doktorantek i
for
doktorantów
Five.
na pierwszym przedłużeniu, którzy z
It
obiektywnych
is the
przyczyn, ale
scholarship
naprawdę
for
super
the
obiektywnych przyczyn, nie mogli
students
ukończyć
who,
doktoratu
because of
48
objective
miesięcy, więc to nie
reasons,
będzie dla państwa,
weren't
państwo na pewno
able to
ukończą.
finish their
Ale
doctoral
żebyśmy
studies.
mieli jasność, gdyby tak się zdarzyło,
Obviously, we don't wish you that,
przedstawią nam
but if
połowę
it
swojego
happens to
doktoratu,
you,
już
if you show us
napisanego
half
albo
of your
badań
doctoral
równoważnych
thesis
z opinią promotora.
or research that
Tutaj oczywiście,
is accompanied
też
by
takie
the opinion
stypendium powinni
of
dostać, z
the
tym, że to jest
advisor,
stypendium
you should be
konkursowe.
given
Więc to naprawdę muszą
this
być
scholarship,
super
but
obiektywne
there's
przyczyn.
a
Ma to służyć
competition for that.
podniesieniu jakości tych doktoratów.
And we want
Chcemy
to
dać
raise the
szansę,
quality
jako jedyni
of
w Polsce,
the doctoral
aby
thesis
ci-
by doing that.
Te doktorantki i doktoranci przez ten
As
czas,
the first university in
gdzie na
Poland,
przykład mieli pisać o jakimś zagadnieniu, które z
it is
obiektywnych przyczyn na
especially
przykład nie mogą
directed
przeprowadzić
at
badań na
the
Ukrainie.
doctoral students who wanted to write
Takie
about
sytuacje mogą się
things
zdarzyć.
that
I
can
tutaj,
that they can't write
chcemy
about,
to
for
sprawdzić.
example,
To
related
jest
to
fundusz własny
Ukraine,
uniwersytetu,
and
rektorski
we
fundusz.
want to
Wychodzimy
really
do państwa
check
z głębokim
that.
zaufaniem.
We
Doktoranci i
go
doktoranci
to you
nie są
with
może
huge faith in you.
inwestycją, jak niektórzy nazywają, ale są największą nadzieją
You are our biggest
polskiej
hope,
nauki, bo to
the
dzięki
biggest hope of
waszym
Polish
badaniom
science.
polska nauka zyska z pewnością na znaczeniu,
And
a na
with your
ochocie, jak
research,
pan
the
profesor
Polish
Cyrański
science
mówi,
will
bez
gain a lot.
doktorantów świat by nie istniał.
And without the
Jeżeli
doctoral
chodzi
students,
o,
the world wouldn't exist.
Gwarantuję państwu, że pan doktor Baczew,
I
będąc
can
również kierownikiem
guarantee
studiów na
you
prawie,
that
będzie to
Dr.
potwierdzić chociażby w
Bachev
stosunku
will
do
be
naszej
able to
dyscypliny.
confirm that,
Chciałbym
at
w tym
least
miejscu
in our
pogratulować
scientific
państwu
discipline.
rekrutacji
I would like
do
to
najlepszej
congratulate
polskiej
you
uczelni.
on getting accepted to the best
dzięki
Polish
waszej
university. It
dzięki
is
waszym
thanks to
pomysłom,
your persistence,
waszym
to your
projektom,
ideas, to your
komisje
projects,
rekrutacyjne
that
zaufały, że
the
jeżeli
recruitation
że
committees
te projekty
decided
będą
to
na tyle
accept you,
cenne, że
and
przyniosą dumę i chwałę
that it was
uniwersytetowi.
decided that your research
Tak jak pan
will
rektor
be
powiedział,
important to the
nam zależy,
university
żebyście
and it
napisali
will bring glory to the
najlepsze
university. We
możliwe
want you to
doktoraty.
write the best
I
thesis
tego
possible,
wszyscy bardzo chcemy,
and
żebyście
this
to też
is
robili
what
terminowo.
all of us
To podkreślam.
want, that you write
Żebyście
them
nie składali
on
do mnie podań
time.
3 dni
I
przed
don't want
końcem terminu,
you
żebym
to
przedłużył. A
write
przez na przykład
to
4
me
lata żeście do mnie nic nie pisali.
to
Znaczy,
prolong
nie, w ogóle nie
the
piszcie,
time
ale nie
for
3
you.
dni przed końcem, żebym
I mean,
ratował.
you can write to me,
Jestem,
but not 3 days
ratownikiem,
before the
ale
deadline.
niecertyfikowanym, więc czasami to ratowanie może być trochę
I am a
inaczej.
helper, but I'm not
Chciałbym
a
w tym miejscu bardzo
certified
serdecznie
helper.
podziękować wszystkim
I
paniom
would like
dyrektor
to
i
thank all
dyrektorom
of
szkół
you,
doktorskich
the
za
directors
przeprowadzenie
of the
tej
doctoral
rekrutacji,
schools,
komisjom
for
rekrutacyjnym, za
managing
pracę w komisjach,
the
radom szkół
reputation,
doktorskich, za
for
to, że
the
wykreowały
councils,
te sposoby rekrutacji i również się zajmują w szczególności także państwami,
and thank you very much
państwa
for
wnioskami o ponowne
managing
rozpatrzenie spraw,
of
jeżeli
all
takie
of
były
that.
składane. Chciałbym bardzo serdecznie podziękować
I would like
również
to thank
administracji szkół
the
doktorskich.
administration of the
Jeżeli
doctoral
państwo
schools.
chcecie szukać gender balance, to
If
tam
you
jest.
want to look for gender
Odwrotne,
balance,
jakbyśmy
it is
zakładali,
there.
patrzę w stronę pani dziekan
The
Kubisy,
reverse,
tam
I'm looking
rządzą
at
kobiety
Dean Kubisa.
I sprawa się na tym zamyka.
The
Więc żebyśmy
women
tu mieli jasność,
mostly
to są
work there.
najlepiej prowadzone sprawy administracyjne
And
na
these are
uniwersytecie.
best led
Tego
administrative
nie mam tutaj wątpliwości.
issues at the
Jeżeli chodzi o
university.
kwestię
There is no doubt.
naszych planów na przyszłość, to
When it comes to
nowymi
our
programami
plans for the
stypendialnymi, które
future,
już po części
we
żeśmy
have new
zrealizowali,
scholarship
ale
programs
będziemy
that we
też
have
pracować nad
realized
innymi,
that we have
bo pomysłowość
managed in
samorządu nie
part,
zna granic.
but
Chciałbym
the
również,
student government has no
zaprosić
limit when it comes to
państwa
creativity.
na już
And I would like
przygotowywane
you to
takie
invite
warsztaty
you
integracyjne dla pierwszego
to
roku.
workshops
Będą
for
państwo
the
mieli tam
first year where you will be able to
tylko to nie będą
integrate.
takie warsztaty, jak mają studenci, że można
This
przyjść, zatańczyć. i
won't
tyle. To
be
też
the
możecie
kind
państwo
of
na godzinach. Natomiast to
integration
będą warsztaty
that
integracyjne
students
związane z
have,
motywowaniem państwa do
but it
pisania
will be
od
related
pierwszego dnia.
to
Bo ja
motivating
ufam
you
już,
from
że dzisiaj
day
mamy 3
one.
października, więc co najmniej pierwszy rozdział karty już skończył. Więc
We have
to
3rd of
chciałbym, żeby
October,
państwo,
so
jak te
I
warsztaty
hope
się
that you
rozpoczną
have
pod koniec
something written
października,
already.
żeby już co najmniej z połową przyjść i móc
So when
podyskutować,
the
jakie tam
workshop
są
is
problemy
over,
badawcze.
I expect you to have
Tutaj
at least
chciałbym
half of
również,
it done and discuss
podziękować,
your
że
research
widzę na
problems.
sali tyle
I would
dziekan
like
i
to
dziekanów naszego
thank
uniwersytetu.
all the
Cieszy mnie
deans
ten
and
widok
vice
i ufam,
deans of the
że
faculties
współpraca
of our
pomiędzy
university.
szkołami
I'm
doktorskimi
very
i
happy to
wydziałami
see that the
będzie się
cooperation
rozwijać.
between
Jeżeli nie
the
równie
doctoral
dobrze,
schools
to
and
na
the
pewno znacznie
faculties
lepiej
is
niż do tej
going,
pory.
if
Oczekujemy
not
od Państwa, że będą Państwo wysyłać do szkół
amazingly
doktorskich
better than
to, co macie
now.
najlepsze u siebie na wydziale, czyli najlepszych wykładowców.
And you will
Że tych
have
najlepszych
best
będą
lecturers
uczyć
at
najlepsi.
your
Nie ci, co mają
faculties, because
pusto w
the
pensum,
best must
gdzieś
be
musimy ich
taught
wysłać.
by the best.
Tylko oczekujemy, że będą ich uczyć najlepsi.
We expect
Jeżeli
them
nie
to be
będą
taught
chcieli,
by the
zapraszam do mnie.
best. And if they don't
Będziemy
want
z nimi
to,
rozmawiać.
I want to talk to
Że
them.
mamy ich
We will
przekonać,
be
że najlepszych
talking. We
mają
want
uczyć
to
najlepsi.
convince them
Nie możemy
that
sobie
the
pozwolić
best
na
have
byle
to
jakość na tym
teach
uniwersytecie.
the best.
Bo jeżeli wykształcimy
We can't be
ten świat,
mediocre at this
jak,
university.
to ten świat zwiędnie. A na tym uniwersytecie pod wodzą pana rektora nic nie więdnie.
Because
Chciałbym
we
również
want
Państwu
this university
zaznaczyć,
to go
że
through.
przed nami są trudne 4 lata.
I want to say
nie
that
podyktowane
we
tym,
have
co się dzieje na
4 very
uniwersytecie, ale tym, co
difficult
się dzieje
years
wokół
ahead of us,
uniwersytetu.
taking into
Tak
account
jak pan rektor
all of the
wspomniał,
things that are
żyjemy
happening
z
around the
pieniędzy
university.
publicznych
We
i
live from
od
the
nich przede
taxpayers'
wszystkim
money
zależymy.
and
Więc
we
jeżeli
depend from
dotacja
them.
uniwersytecka
So
będzie
if
na tym samym poziomie,
we
to
don't, if we still
wycieczki,
receive the
panie
same
przewodniczący
money,
Opolskim, zachowajmy na inne czasy.
we will have
Więc,
to
żebyśmy
save
mieli
the
jasność,
pay rise for
chciałbym,
the future.
w tym miejscu życzyć Państwu
And I would like to wish
wszystkiego
you
dobrego.
from this place
To, co
all
jest w
the
ślubowaniu
best.
doktorskim,
And
czyli
what is
poszukiwanie
included in the
naukowej
oath,
prawdy, aby ziściło się w
searching
Państwa
for
doktoratach
the
za 4
scientific
lata.
truth.
A
I
ja
want it
te
to happen in
najciekawsze
your doctoral
obiecuję
thesis
przeczytać.
in 4 years,
Wszystkiego
and
dobrego
I promise
Państwu.
to read the best of your doctoral thesis. All best for you.
Bardzo dziękuję panie rektorze.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask Zygmunt Lelak to speak. Thank you very much, Director.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues,
doktoranci,
dear doctoral students, it is difficult for me to add anything to all the wishes that we have heard.
Mogę tylko potwierdzić,
I
że
can
podzielam ich
only
zdania.
confirm that I approve them and that I try to make those wishes even bigger as the Vice Rector for Research. I would like to add some details. In coming years, we will still have IDUP, the Initiative for Excellence, and in this initiative, we have the 441 initiative, which is encouraging the activity of the doctoral students in all of the aspects, both when it comes to going to conferences, micro grants related to your research, and also scholarships that are supposed to help you with preparing the best doctoral thesis. This is an excellency program. It has to have the highest requirements. It has to be this way. And it has to be this way with our youngest colleagues, so the doctoral students. But it's not a bad situation because it's a training for you, and you will experience that soon at the University of Warsaw. You will start enjoying all of the aspects that the more advanced academics are experiencing. So you'll have to do all the paperwork. In a lot of cases, you will have a success. In some cases, not. But I encourage you to try again and again. At some point, you will get a positive response. In general, the success rate for the research at IDUP for the younger and older academics is very high. It is much, much higher than with the national grants, with the basic and more developed research. The University of
badania,
Warsaw
które, traktuje bardzo
treats
poważnie.
the scientific research very seriously.
Uniwersytetu Warszawskiego jako
We are
uczelni
creating
badawczej, w której
the image of the University of Warsaw as
badań
a
opartych
university
także nauczania.
of research,
Mamy symbiozę
but there is a symbiosis of the research and teaching, also in the doctoral schools.
wprowadzać w życie
We
także
try
na
to
studiów
introduce that also at the level of the BA and MA studies. And I think we're quite successful at that.
końcem 2025 roku.
The
I to
IDUP
nasze
program is ending
441
in
także biegnie
2025, and the 441 program will also end
w
then.
kolejnej edycji IDUB-a chcemy wypracować rozwiązania
But we want to find new solutions by the end of the program.
również
We want to find new ways of supporting you
ruchu naukowego na
and also supporting the scientific activity at our university. And you will soon see such solutions. I will finish by reminding you that from 7th to 14th October, we will have the Doctoral Week. It is a series of meetings and events that will be accompanying the announcing of the Nobel Prize winners in 2024. Great scientists, members of our community, will be talking about what the prized scientifics are doing, and we want all of you to participate in the research. I hope that among the laureates we will have the names of our youngest colleague. If not in this edition, I'm sure that it will happen in the next edition or the next one after that. We will need that because it's very important for the position in the ranking, because the Nobel points are very important, and it would bring us, well, it would transfer us maybe even to the top 50. These are the successes that we wish in the next academic year 2024-25. All best.
Bardzo dziękuję, panie rektorze.
Thank you very much, dear Rector.
Zaapelować do
I
doktorantów,
can only appeal to our PhD candidates, grasp all the opportunities resulting from the research initiative, excellent university. Go abroad, use those funding until we have it. Now I would like to ask the president of
Bardzo proszę.
the students, doctoral students government to take the floor, Mr. Dominik Purchała.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much.
Wasza Magnificencjo,
Dear Magnificent
szanowni
Rector,
rektorzy, szanowni
dear
dyrektorzy szkół,
Vice Rector,
szanowny rzeczniku, szanowni
heads
państwo,
of the
drodzy
schools,
doktoranci, drogie doktorantki.
ombudsman, ladies and gentlemen,
Chciałbym
dear
zacząć od
PhD
czegoś
candidates. Let me
nietypowego,
start by
jeśli chodzi o
something very
inaugurację
typical when it
roku
comes to
akademickiego w szkołach
inauguration of
doktorskich.
academic year at doctoral schools.
O pewnym
Would
profesorze
like
Uniwersytetu
to tell you
Warszawskiego,
about
który
a
powiedział mi
professor,
kiedyś, że
certain professor of the University of Warsaw, who told me that PhD candidates for higher educational institutions are
z
a
jednej
bit
strony są
troublesome.
przecież ważni, bo
Because on the one
zaczynają
hand they
tworzyć
are
naukę,
important because they start
ale z drugiej
contributing
strony
to
w zasadzie
science, but on the
to
other
nieliczna
hand,
grupa
this
studentów,
is
ludzi dopiero kształcących się.
a handful of students,
uniwersytet
people
nie
are
bardzo wie, co
being
może z nimi
trained, and
zrobić.
the university doesn't know
Pewnie
what to do
dlatego na
with
wielu
them.
uczelniach w Polsce przy procedowaniu ważnych
Perhaps
zmian
because of that, at
Wspomina
many
się o władzach
universities in
rektorskich,
Poland,
profesorach i
when
studentach, ale nie o
processing
doktorantach.
important
Gdy mówi się o
changes,
stypendiach, to o stypendiach
rector
studenckich. A gdy
authorities
mówi o
are
akademikach,
mentioned
to o akademikach dla
and not
studentów.
PhD students. When we talk
Chciałbym z dumą
about
podkreślić,
student
że w
residences, we
przypadku
talk about
Uniwersytetu
students.
Warszawskiego
When we talk
na
about
szczęście to się po
scholarships,
prostu
we talk
zmienia.
about students.
Dzięki
And
panu
I'm proud to
rektorowi,
say that
dzięki
this
zarządowi
is changing for the
samorządu
University of
studentów,
Warsaw.
doktorantów,
Thanks to
dzięki zaangażowanym
the
doktorantom
doctoral
i
students
doktorantkom,
government and thanks to the
nasz
involved
uniwersytet jest
PhD
uniwersytetem
candidates, our
mającym
university
od niedawna zespołem
has
rektorskim świetnego
recently
reprezentanta
had
doktorantów.
have had an extraordinary representative of PhD candidates, Professor Adam Niewiadomski.
Udało się nam również wynegocjować
As
podwyższenie
PhD
stypendiów
candidates
doktoranckich.
government, we managed to
Doprowadziliśmy do
negotiate
wprowadzenia
rise in
w regulaminie
scholarships
studenta,
and
tak aby te były
changes to
korzystne także dla
the
doktorantów.
regulations
A
covering
wreszcie także
students'
doprowadziliśmy do
residences,
powstania
benefiting
na rzecz
PhD
osób,
candidates, and we
które są na
also
pierwszym
have
przedłużeniu w
set
szkołach
up
doktorskich.
funding for
Dzięki nim
extensions
uniwersytet, który
in the
inwestował
doctoral
w
school
doktorantów przez
period.
4 lata, być może
Thanks to them,
uzyska,
university
przynajmniej mam taką
will
nadzieję,
continue to
zwrot tej
finance
inwestycji
those
w postaci świetnych rozpraw
doctoral
doktorskich.
students, and they will get their return on
Te zmiany, a
investments
wymieniłem
because these
z nich
doctoral
kilka,
candidates will
to
complete their
ogromny krok
PhD
w stronę
dissertations.
uniwersytetu
I've named but a
sprzyjającego
few of
powstawaniu
these changes,
świetnych
and
rozpraw
these are a
doktorskich.
huge step
I bardzo się cieszę,
on
że
the way to
zrobiliśmy ten krok
university
wraz
that
z władzami rektorskimi
inclines
wspólnie.
people to write good PhD
koniec pozostają
dissertation,
tylko
and
dwie
I
kwestie.
am pleased to announce that
Pierwsza to
we've done it
serdecznie
together
podziękować
with
zespołowi
rectors'
rektorskiemu,
authorities.
dyrekcji szkół
To conclude, let me thank the
oraz
rectors
wszystkim
team,
tym, którzy
heads
byli
of doctoral
zaangażowani
schools,
w
and all that have been
tworzenie z naszego
involved in
uniwersytetu
making
przyjaznego
our
doktoranta.
university a doctoral-friendly
kwestia to
university. The
pogratulować
second thing,
tym
the
osobom,
latter
które
thing
wybrały
is to
Uniwersytet
congratulate
Warszawski i
those people who
zdecydowały
have
się tutaj
chosen the University of
kształcić
Warsaw and
na
decided to
trzecim
train
stopniu czy
themselves
w szkołach doktorskich.
to get training at
Dobrze
the third
wybraliście.
stage
Cieszę
of
się, że
their
jesteście
academic
z nami.
journey
Dziękuję bardzo.
or PhD candidates journey, if you will. Thank you for choosing University of Warsaw, and we welcome you. Thank you, dear President. And now I would like to ask
Panią doktor, jedną z pierwszych,
Doctor,
naszych
one of the first
absolwentów
graduates
szkół doktorskich,
of our
która
doctoral
obroniła
schools,
doktorat.
a
Bardzo
person who
proszę,
has
pani doktor
had
Martyna
viva
Kisiok.
of her dissertation, Ms. Dr. Martyna Kisiok. The floor is yours. Thank you very much indeed,
Magnificencjo, szanowny
dear
panie
magnificent
rektorze,
rector,
szanowny panie prorektorze do spraw
dear
doktoranckich, do spraw
deputy
naukowych,
rector
ale też
for
szanowny panie dyrektor,
doctoral affairs,
pani
scientific
wicedyrektor,
affairs,
panowie dyrektorowie,
dear heads of doctoral
wicedyrektorowie
schools
i
and
pracownicy,
deputy heads of
pracownice
doctoral
administracji.
schools and
Pytań jest
academic
dużo,
staff
ale
and
tak dużo osób
administrative
działa na
staff.
rzecz doktorantów
I
i
know that
doktorantek
this
na tej
this
uczelni,
address
że tutaj
starts
trudno
with
byłoby
welcoming many
inaczej.
people, but
Także szanowni
the
goście
university
oraz
works
oczywiście
because of
drogie
these many
doktorantki
people.
i drodzy
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests and
10
dear PhD candidates,
dokładnie tyle
10
minęło,
years.
kiedy od momentu,
This
kiedy
has
pierwszy
been
raz
the time
przekroczyłam bramę
since
Uniwersytetu
I passed through the gates,
Już
the
jako
first time, for the
studentka
first time,
istniejącego
through the
Wydziału
gates of
Dziennikarstwa i
University
Nauk
of Warsaw,
Dzisiaj
studying
jako
at the
doktora
then Faculty
staję
of Journalism
pomiędzy tymi dwoma
and Political
etapami, bo
Sciences.
z jednej strony żegnam
As
się ze
a
szkołami doktorskimi,
PhD
a z
holder,
drugiej
degree
strony
holder,
rozpoczynam swoją
I
pracę
am
na
bidding farewell
Uniwersytecie
at
Warszawskim.
to the
Z tej
doctoral
okazji
schools, and I'm starting
chciałam
my
podzielić się z
work at
państwem
the University of Warsaw. Let
10-krotnymi,
me
ale za to
then
bardzo
share
ważnymi lekcjami,
several
które wyniosłam
lessons
z
that are
tego
brief but
10-letniego etapu
important,
mojej podróży.
and those are my
I to
takeaways
właśnie
from my
one
10-year
ukształtowały mnie
journey.
i jako naukowiec,
And those
i
10
jako
years have
badacz.
shaped me
Ale
as
też jako
a
człowiek.
researcher, a scholar, and
Wzruszenia są częścią
a woman.
Nigdy nie zapomnę pierwszej inauguracji, kiedy
First lesson,
jeszcze byłam studentką licencjatu.
being
Chór po raz
touched is
pierwszy
part of
zaśpiewał
our
Wiwat Akademii.
this
Wzruszyłam
journey.
się wtedy
I
tak,
will never forget
jakby
my
każdy
first
dźwięk
inauguration. I
przypominał,
felt
że
so
jesteśmy w
touched
ważnym
when the
miejscu.
choir
Dobrze
sung
sobie
Vivat
o tym
Academia.
przypomnieć.
And I continue
Że
to
tamtej
remember that
chwili, mimo
every
wielu lat,
year.
wzruszam się przy
And
każdej
10 years have
okazji, przy
passed,
każdej
but
inauguracji.
I'm really
A dzisiaj,
moved
drodzy
at
państwo,
all
w swoim życiu
inaugurations.
przeżyłam ich
And
dużo.
believe me,
Tego
I've
roku
been
to
to
moja trzecia.
many inaugurations. This year it's my
Lekcja
third
tego.
inauguration.
W związku z
Second
tym
lesson that I
inauguracja
draw
to
is
taki
that
naukowy
inauguration is
Każdy
like
nowy
a
rok
New
akademicki
Year's
jest pełen
Eve
nadziei
party
planów.
for
Niektóre
researchers.
przetrwają, inne rozwijają się
This is
codziennie,
time full of
ale to
hopes and
właśnie ten
plans.
moment daje nam
Some of them will
energię
survive
na
and some of
nadchodzący
them
czas.
will crush against the
Myślę, że
walls
warto
of
czerpać z tego.
the everyday reality. So we should draw enthusiasm from that. Third lesson, university is a space for limitless possibilities, boundless possibilities. Dear PhD candidates, you are starting your journey at the best university in Poland. You have at your disposal not only impressive infrastructure, but also the research initiative Excellent University program that opens the door for international journeys. And believe me, those international journeys and your own experience are changing the way you approach the world, the science, and yourself. Lesson number 4. Science means global collaboration. It's not a local circle, but rather an open space which is open to the world and international community. Thanks to the EU Plus Alliance, we are crossing international boundaries and exchanging our experiences with universities around Europe. University of Warsaw is a gateway to Europe and the world. Each conference, each event may be the start of your international research career. Lesson number 5. The world is not always tranquil, but it is the university that gives us tools to understand it. Contemporary period leads to many challenges, economic, ecological, social, etc. And we need to adapt to new realities. And science gives us tools to understand these realities and to act. Science is not merely theory, but also the ability to sort out problems, solve problems, and create future. And it is today that you are starting to shape the science. Lesson number 6. Theory and practice go hand in hand. This is what Bourdieu claimed. He said, theory is a profound version of practice. And this relationship is tangible at the University of Warsaw. Your research can go beyond theoretical frames and become practically applicable. It can be commercialized and go onto the market. Your science, the science you do, can change the world. Lesson number 7. Sharing knowledge is our basic duty. At the times of disinformation, fake news, and discussing and questioning of science, sharing the knowledge is our basic duty. The science contained to labs and academic publication loses its power. What we discover needs to reach the people. And we have the Center for Cooperation and Dialogue, an open university that can aid us in this process. This is where you can start inspiring others. Lesson number 8, and possibly the most important one. You are awarded with a doctoral dissertation as a single person, but it's a teamwork. In the last weeks of my work at the towards the doctoral dissertation, I understood that I will get the degree, but my work comprises everyday meetings with scientists and experiences I bring from other universities, meetings at the coffee in doctoral spaces, talking to our families, mentors, and the dissertation is but a result of this process. And the very process takes place within the community. And if this is the case, we need to support each other. Lesson number 9. Support is always present, though sometimes invisible. Self-government and administrative staff are those that are working every day to support doctoral students, although their activities may be invisible to us sometimes. Our administrative staff is silent heroes that allows us to focus on our tasks. Especially now that we have the Deputy Director for Doctoral Affairs, we can see how important PhD candidates are at our university. Finally, then lesson number 10. Love to our alma mater grows on every step we take. After 10 years, I can claim that University of Warsaw has become my second home. That is why I cannot leave it, and that is why I have, as the rector said, have an opportunity to stay in a different role, more academic role and teaching role. Dear PhD candidates, I wish you that these coming years are full of passions and discoveries and joy of what you're doing. Grasp all the opportunities you will encounter on your way, because you're starting your journey today, and get everything you can from your journey, just as we did. Thank you. Thank you, dear doctor. What an optimistic, extraordinary message to your younger colleagues. And for us as well, dear rector. But for the PhD candidates, these words are really important. Thank you very, very much for those 10 lessons that are so important for our academic life. Ladies and gentlemen, now has come the time when we will be starting to work to do our research. And when we start teaching and doing our research, we need to listen to the lecture. Let me welcome Professor Paweł Kaczmarczyk from the Center for Migration Studies, who will be delivering his inaugural lecture at the Doctoral Schools on the challenges related to contemporary affairs and this turbulent world that your predecessor has mentioned, previous speaker has mentioned. Professor, the floor is yours.
Jego magnificencjo, jeszcze zdążę.
Dear Magnificence, let me catch up with you, dear rectors, dear professor, heads of doctoral schools,
Wszyscy goście, ale przede wszystkim
dear guests, and above all, dear PhD candidates of the first year, not only of the first year. I must admit, I am extremely honored by delivering this lecture,
i czuję dużą
and I feel a lot of stress.
I need to switch into English because this is what I have been asked for. Yeah, should I speak in English? Okay. I must admit that when Professor Czerny first approached me to discuss this lecture, I felt a bit puzzled. And this is for two major reasons. So first of all, I'm absolutely aware how outstanding and also demanding group you are. And secondly, I know also very well how diverse audience sits here in the room. So I truly didn't know what I should speak about, and in the end, I decided to say a few words within just half an hour or so about the recent case of Ukrainian war refugees in Poland. And this is for manifold reasons. So first of all, this is a very, very recent process. In fact, this is just a process in the making, so this is what we still observe. Second, I assume that most of us know something about migration, and I believe that it really makes sense to confront our intuitions and beliefs with sort of empirical evidence, so this is what I will do. And thirdly, migration is a very specific subject when the academic world and political world interact, and the line between those two is largely blurred. So I'll just try to also look at this issue, and also I'll just try to show you how important is interdisciplinary approach towards migration studies. And this is more or less how my talk will look like. I will just start with discussing the very basic issue, to what extent what we observe in last few years in Poland is just a typical or maybe specific case. And then I will just go through some contextual issues and focus on the process and challenges, both research-wise and also those related to social and political realities. So let me start with the question. So is the case of Ukrainian war refugees, and I will just explain in a second what I mean here, is it something specific or maybe quite similar to other large-scale forced migration cases? So there are many similarities, as you see on the slide. So first of all, this is a truly large-scale process with a few million of people being both internally and internationally displaced. Secondly, that was largely uncontrolled and very rapid process. What most of those cases they have in common, they are trauma effect, in this case related to war. And of course, the presence of primary and secondary movements. So people moving first to possibly the neighborhood country and then moving further. But in the case of Poland, there are also specific issues. The first and maybe the most important is just a presence of very strong and large Ukrainian diaspora, and I will just say a few words about later. Second, clearly skewed demographic structure, again, to be commented on just in a few seconds. Specific legislative solutions, and I will just devote few sentences to this one. And finally, 2 points, they are closely related to the country of destination, in this case, Poland. Lack of migration-related policies, and additionally also lack of migration-related infrastructure. And of course, something in between, and this is, as you will see, most of my talk today will be about expectations concerning both reception and integration of those people who landed, in this case, in Poland. I know that for many of you, legal issues can be somehow boring. I'm looking here at Professor Niewiadomski, but this is not his case, of course. But when we speak about migration, and particularly refugees, legal context matters and matters a lot. You probably heard the notion of temporary protection directive. And this is the legal tool that is being used in the case of people fleeing Ukraine. And interestingly enough, it's nothing new. It has been adopted in 2001, but only activated in March 2022. The idea of this directive was very basic. As you may know, the refugee procedure worked case by case. So every single case needs to be proceeded individually. In this case, the idea was just to propose something more general, something that could just allow providing support to large groups of people in the case of rapid and exceptional situations, as, for example, war and national disaster. And the idea of the protection directive was just to set some minimal standards and just to give scope for member states to additional actions. So this is the background. In the case of Poland, what we have for disposal, this is the law or legislation with quite a long name. As you see, we call it of its special law. Okay, let's be special law. And of course, for many people, this law is to be interpreted within the context of temporary protection directive. But I would say that the situation is far more complex. So first of all, the directive was not taken as granted. So if you just talk to people from various Polish ministries, they would tell you that in fact they started working on the legislation way before the decision about a directive has been provided. And additionally, they wanted to have something very special, very Polish. So what's the outcome? The outcome is that in fact the main objective of the legislation was to legalize stay of all Ukrainians who are staying on the territory of Poland. But second, the scope of the provisions is in fact much broader than in the case of temporary protection directive. So all Ukrainians, they have been given full access to labor market, full access to social security and related provisions, full freedom of establishment, which is really a rarity in the case of this kind of solutions, full access to health services, all kinds of social services, and also financial support. There is one substantial difference because the object of this legislation is somehow more narrow because it refers exclusively to Ukrainians, so people of Ukrainian citizenship, and not all of those who are coming, for example, from the Ukrainian territory. And something more, and I will just refer to this one later during my speech. If you just look at those legislative solutions, in fact, the situation we face right now, it's very close in practical terms to the freedom of movement. So it's not only that Ukrainians can enjoy, for example, Polish labor market or social security, then also can be mobile. So they can come to Poland when they want to, they can return to Ukraine, they move to other countries. And this is something absolutely unique, very close to freedom of movement. We, as, for example, citizens of European Union, enjoy and can enjoy every day. In terms of context, I will not torture you with the history of migration to Poland in this case, but I guess a few words of explanations are necessary. So first of all, Poland was never a true immigration country. And if you just look into the data, as for 2011, the stock of migrants in Poland was like 100,000, 0.5% of the total population, the very last place in the European Union. The situation started changing after 2014, meaning after the first war in Ukraine, and here you see the outcome here on the slide. In fact, just before the pandemic, the stock of migrants in Poland was 2.2 million. It means 20-fold increase. And additionally, it was a very special population, mostly males, as you see, and also almost 100% of them people at productive age. In simple words, most of people coming to Poland, they are just labor migrants. Additionally, and this is very important for the next part of my speech, those people, they were arriving in a country with generally homogeneous host population. They were arriving to a country with no ethnic economy which usually can absorb newcomers. And finally, they were coming to country with no migration policy, and particularly with no integration policy. I'm not sure if you know it, but in fact, still in Poland, what we have just personal integration programs, and they are just targeting unknowledge refugees only. So in fact, the scope of this solution was and still is very, very narrow. And of course, majority of those people, they were Ukrainians. We estimated the scale of Ukrainian diaspora at, let's say, 1.3, 1.5 million in early 2022, with some patterns of settlement you will see in a second, and first of all, clear economic activity. If you just look at various legal titles that allow to work in Poland, here you just see a few examples of them, Ukrainians, they presented majority, huge majority in every single case. Just to show you what kind of process we are talking about, I will just show this set of maps. They are showing just one particular case. They are just declarations of willingness to employ foreigner. And this is just a basic to get a visa and then work in Poland without work permit. And I guess it's just self-explanatory. This is the situation in 2000. Okay. That was me. So this is the situation in 2012, and this is the situation in 2017. It's not only that suddenly migrants, they've been to met in almost in the biggest cities in Poland, but just all over the country. And this happened just within not only 10 years, but within 5 years, in fact. I will not comment on the effects of the first arrival round, maybe with one exception. In fact, since many years, what we've been discussing, that was the case of utilizing skills of migrants. And this is important because at some point I will just comment on this maybe in few additional sentences. The process itself. I'm sure that many of you already saw this slide so many times. These are just border crossings between Ukraine and Poland. Of course, these are not people. This is just entries or departures from Poland, but it shows quite nicely what was the scale and dynamics of the story. In fact, only in 2022, what we had in Poland was just approximately 10 million arrivals and 8 million departures from the country. And this is what you see here. Interestingly, it happened just within the first 2 or 3 months. The second case is even more interesting because it seems that after a while, the traditional circular mobility between Ukraine and Poland has been restored. In fact, the balance of migration since then is quite close to zero. It remains like this for many years already. I commented before on temporary protection directive. One of the major aims there was just to legalize the stay of Ukrainians, and one of the expectations was that they are expected to register. So that's why, paradoxically, we know quite well how it looks like in terms of numbers. So what you see right now, this is the data from the registration system in Poland, so PESEL, UKR, so this is the part devoted to Ukrainians and those people who lost the PESEL UKR status. What's interesting here? So first of all, as for 2024, the number of Ukrainians staying in Poland is approximately 950,000. The highest number ever was 1.4 million, approximately. So as for now, this is like over 800,000 of people who at some point had this status but lost it. You can just lose the status when you are staying out of Poland for more than 30 days. So the scale of this particular process is very large, but just take a look. We also have Ukrainian citizens in just regular PESEL register. This number is possibly overestimated, but I would say it's more than 1 million. And this is the scale of phenomena we are talking about today. Altogether, it's over 2 million people from Ukraine who are staying on the territory of Poland. We know already much more about the process, and I will just comment on this just in a second. This is clearly feminized. Maybe I will just go back for a second just to comment this one. In the case of adult population, over 70% of Ukrainians, they are females. For the first time in Polish history, also, we have quite substantial number of children. Approximately 40% of the total population of those people who arrived since the war started. Over 80% of Ukrainians, they were forced to leave their family members in Ukraine, mostly parents, but not only, quite often also the partners. What is also very interesting is also educational profiles of Ukrainians. And this is what we know since the war started. Between 60 and 70% of Ukrainians, they are people with tertiary education. However, this does not necessarily comply with language skills. And this is maybe kind of paradox because our understanding is that Ukrainians, they speak Polish perfectly well. They don't. In fact, roughly 50% of them, they report well knowledge of Polish language. In the case of the rest, it's kind of mixed. I use the word paradox because, for example, if you just compare Polish data and German data, you will find out that the language skills are quite similar and is completely not in line with our expectations and intuitions. And additionally, this is what I said before, it's important for the next part of my speech. What we face here, this is a clearly mixed population. What you see right now, this is outcomes of our survey. I will comment on this in a second because it may be of some importance also for you. In our case, like 40% of the sample, there were people who were framing here as migrants, so people who were staying in Poland before the war, and 60% they are those who arrived later. And when we speak about Ukrainian population in Poland, this is what we need to keep in mind. We have those two groups, and in fact, they are mixing together quite often, and this particularly refers to males, as you can assume for obvious reasons. What is also typical for the group, there's a huge level of uncertainty. Since the war started, approximately 40% of Ukrainians, they simply don't know what they will do in the future. Apart from this, there is a growing number of those who are planning to stay in Poland for many years or even to settle. That's also quite important for what I'm talking about right now, and this will be just like final 10 minutes of my presentation. Research-wise, the catalog of possible interesting issues, of course, is super long. I just propose a few of them which I think are particularly important, and I will not go case by case, but I will focus on, in fact, two of them, or maybe three of them, starting with measurement, just in a second, but also discussing the case of integration as such, and particularly labor market integration of Ukrainian migrants and war refugees in Poland. In terms of integration, this is possibly the most commonly used and also the most commonly contested term in migration studies. I will just apply here a very basic approach when we just look at three layers of integration, starting from structural integration, meaning being part of institutions of destination country. So I'm leaving aside the social integration and cultural integration. And when we speak about structural integration, what really matters is just the labor market status. And here, of course, you see there are, again, various sub-layers. You will see in a second how it works. The concept as such, concept of integration, it has several pitfalls. So, for example, the question is, what's the target point, if any? Is there any target point for people who are integrating? The next point is, what is the reference category? For example, when we speak about integration in Poland, which kind of part of Polish population we expect migrants should integrate to? I don't know, maybe you know. And then the case, should we treat forced migrants as distinct category? And of course, if you look into the data and literature, you will see that this group faces specific and also very numerous challenges. For me, what is super important is that, in fact, the biggest difference is that forced migrants, they have lower chance of self-selection. So they have very limited opportunities, for example, to select the country and also activity they are involved in. And this is also clearly visible in the literature. The literature on integration is really broad. What you see right now, there are a number of studies. They are looking at integration of forced migrants, and they are focusing on such issues like legal framework. This is what I already say a few words about. sociodemographics with gender dimension of being absolutely key. Then the importance of war-related stress and trauma, importance of human capital and particularly skill matching as a substantial challenge, and also typical issues like social capital or also uncertainty. So this is the point I mentioned before. An additional layer, and this is important in the case of Ukrainians in Poland, is transnationality. In fact, it started already in the 1990s when we stopped talking about migration as being only one-time event. Instead, we are speaking today about trans migrants or people living transnational lives. And you will see in a second how it works in the case of Ukrainians. Of course, there are, again, many studies looking at the intersection between transnationality and migration and integration, with only a few looking at forced migration, which is a research challenge as such. The measurement. I showed to you the register data, and for the first time we can just assess quite nicely what's the size and the general picture of Ukrainians here in Poland, but of course we see also a huge number of knowledge gaps. And this is why one of the reasons, and there will just be time for a small advert here, this is one of the reasons why at some point we started a project which is called Between Ukraine and Poland. And million thanks here to Professor Lalak, who agreed to change the initial agenda of Center of Excellence in Social Sciences, and we are able to use the Excellence Initiative to start this research infrastructure. In fact, we started with establishment survey. It was just in the mid-2022, and we just started with a sample like 8,000 people. But since then, we already completed several waves of the survey. Here you see just names of the studies. They are already completed, or they are right now in the process of making. Why it's so important? Because I would use this opportunity to incentivize you and also welcome you for possible cooperation. In fact, the very idea of the project is that just provides research infrastructure. So this is true longitudinal data, so we can follow population of Ukrainians in Poland across time and space, also even if they are out of Poland, and additionally, this is really affordable, because when you just have some very small money, for example, just to pay for incentives, you can run the survey very quickly and you can just have the data just in 2 months' time or so. If you are interested, just contact Agata Gurne or myself. We are ready to help. And we are really happy that we already have, for example, the new studies, they are people who are just are doing new projects within Excellence Initiative, and they will just utilize the infrastructure I'm talking about. Why it's important? Because some of the data I'm about to present, they are already based on the survey data we are collecting, and you will see what kind of potential they have, but what is more important, they are showing us what's the situation of Ukrainians in Poland. And this is more or less how it looks like. I promised to focus on structural integration. If you look at migrants, so this is the blue bar here, almost all of them, they are working. But if we focus on refugees, and in this case you have 2 subcategories, so those with migration experience to Poland and without, you see that the situation is exceptionally good. In fact, 60% of them, they are working. Not all of them, they have full-time jobs, but 60% of them are working. Why it's so positive? Because, for example, in the case of Germany, the share is like 18%. So it's much, much lower. So if you look at those who are out of the labor market, this is mostly because of care duties, this is because of health issues, and also because of age. So what are the factors they are responsible for being part of the labor market or not? And I already see your faces, so I'll do it quite quick. But this is, by the way, what you can do when you just use the data we are collecting. You can not only compare, for example, descriptives, we can also run some models and just try to control for a large set of variables. And those outcomes, they are quite interesting. So first of all, this is what is expected. There's substantial difference between refugees and migrants. And migrants, of course, they have much higher probability to be employed in Poland than refugees. What also matters a lot, this is gender and care duties. And if you just take a look at this, of course, those females particularly, and females with care duties, they have much lower probability of being employed in Poland. What is somehow interesting, in fact, it doesn't matter much where those people are staying. Also, it doesn't mean much what's the level of education. Paradoxically, even the higher education, it's not a big advantage in this case. What matters, paradoxically, is, for example, there is a level of financial security. It seems that those people who don't need to work, they simply do not. So those who arrive to Poland with, for example, some savings, they are quite often out of the labor market. Also, we tested for the role of social capital. And again, this is kind of unexpected finding. From our data, it follows that what matters, they are not necessarily strong ties, so ties to family members, but rather ties to colleagues or just general Ukrainian community here in Poland. And of course, migration plans work as well. So those who are planning to stay in Poland just for a few months, for them, in fact, it's not that important to be employed or to be active in terms of labor market. And again, if you just go case by case, you will find out how big are the differences between migrants and refugees. This is quite important because many of refugees, they have experiences in the Polish labor market before. They were present here way before the war, but still, there are major differences. And again, if you just take a look at this, it's mostly about being female, having care duties, and also it's about Polish as skill. And this, I will just comment on this in a second. I'm just skipping, it's simply too much. There's something else, and this is what I would like to comment on right now. This is the more recent data from 2023. If you just take a look here, it seems that over 70% of Ukrainians, they were working. Again, this is shockingly good result. But when we just trying to look more into details of the data, we found out something more striking. Because it turned out that 30% of those people, they are working, but they are working in Ukraine. And why I'm talking about, because maybe this is the first time in history when we have a situation when refugees, they can be still active on their domestic labor market. We framed it as digital refugees. And of course, what we are doing, we are just discussing what can be a consequence of this on this fact in the future. And again, if you just look at basic characteristics, there are a few differences. Of course, those who are working in Ukraine, they are generally much better educated. Generally, they are employed in the top positions. Of course, those positions, they allow for remote work. And also, they don't necessarily speak Polish well, but they speak much better English than those people who are working in Poland. I assume that I have just maybe a few minutes time. Okay, 2, okay, 5. So I will be quick, I promise. And I will not comment on those issues you see right now because they are more social and political issues. However, they intertwine with what I just said when I just talk about research agenda. One of the major challenges here is just the provision of social welfare and provision of public goods and services, with education as one of the key issues we are discussing since the war started, in fact. And just to show you how important it is, this is just a very basic data. They are Polish regions, and this, what I used here, they are just Polish register, PESEL data. If you just take a look at this data, it shows that we have some regions, let's call them regions of early reception, and they are mostly border regions. So there's regions where Ukrainian war refugees were there at some point stopping on the way to Poland or maybe to other countries. Then we have regions of medium or long-term settlement, and they are, in majority, they are regions with large cities. But also, apart from this, we have Mazowiecki region, in particular Warsaw, as a region of massive change. Why it's important? Maybe you remember some data from the first few months of the war, and there were data showing, for example, what was the share of Ukrainians in the total population. In the case of several cities, it was like 30–40%. So suddenly, the number of inhabitants rose by just 40%. In the case of school system, in many areas, particularly in Warsaw and other big cities, the number of kids just increased by like 20%. And this is, of course, enormous challenge. What I would like to talk about is just a very controversial issue, and this is the issue of brain drain, or rather brain waste. I will just try to show you. And I can just skip it very easily. I told you already that in the case of Ukrainians, it's not that problematic to find a job in Poland. In fact, majority of them, they are employed. The problem is how to find a good job. Another problem is how to avoid the discrimination. What I will focus now is just the overskilling. If you look at our data, and this is the data from 2023, you will find out that approximately 40% of Ukrainians, they are employed below their skills. If you look at this slide, it's somehow shocking because it shows that 70% of Ukrainians, they've been employed in Ukraine in top positions, ISCO 1 to 3. Right now, many of them, they just landed on the absolute bottom of the labor market in Poland. So what we are trying to do, we are just trying to understand what are the reasons behind the story. And of course, refugee status means here a lot. What we learned again, that the gender is of importance. Having partner in Poland also matters. In this case, of course, place of residence matters, with those who are staying in larger cities having much bigger chances to have been employed according to their skills. And also education, this is what could be expected, matters as well. And of course, Polish language. And just take a look, I will just comment on this one. It's not about general understanding. Only those who can just write in Polish, they have much bigger chances to be employed according to skills. Okay, this is intuition. This is nothing new, but exactly this explains quite difficult situations of many Ukrainians on Polish labor market. Concluding remarks. I started with saying that Poland was never an immigration country. In fact, for the very first time in history right now, we face quite serious integration challenge. And there are two major questions here. So first of all, to what extent we can refer to experiences of other countries? And also, to what extent our experience is transferable? So this is the question I started with. So is Polish case very specific or maybe more universal? And this is what we are trying to disentangle somehow. Another piece, and I assume I need to leave it for now, they are impacts. There are impacts on the host country, and I tried to say a few words about it already, but there are also impacts on migrants. And this is absolute key. Contrary to our beliefs, this is very diverse population. We just have a tendency to put them all into one basket, but they are really, really very, very diverse. And additionally, they have agency. So in the end, they are Ukrainian or refugees who decide if they stay in Poland, if they would like to integrate, or maybe they move somewhere else, or if they return to Ukraine. Because this is another issue. In the case of Ukraine, what we're discussing very often is just the demographic situation. And this is why Ukrainian government is pushing so hard towards returns. But there's also something more. On the top of the agenda in Ukraine is the case of brain drain. I would say, and this is one of the reasons I decided to say a few words about the brain waste, so the issue of underutilization of skills. For me, what is far more important is not brain drain, it's rather brain waste. So the situation when people are not using the human capital in proper way, and in fact, they are risking depreciation of the human capital. And if I may, just final word. Because I'm here in a double role. I'm not only representing Center of Migration Research, but also Center of Excellence in Social Sciences. Again, part of Excellence Initiative. So we are really inviting all of you to cooperate with us, not only social scientists, but all of you. just join our seminars, workshops. Our workshops are and will be part also of the program of the doctoral school. 2 years back, we tried with a very interesting initiative. It was called Migration Cluster. And it was just a really bottom-up idea of doctoral students who are just somehow interested in migration studies. We are more than open to accommodate other clusters, thematic clusters, so clusters of people from various schools looking at particular ideas, and we are ready to help, and you also have some resources to help. And finally, since a few years now, we are running interdisciplinary seminar in empirical social science. We start only next week. Intentionally, you don't see titles here, but the lineup is simply amazing. We start with Dominik Stecua next week. Then we'll have Maria Lewicka, we'll have Ben Stanley, we'll have Elias Dinas, who is a research director at UI in Florence. We'll have Marilyn Schaffer, who is just excellent sociologist. Just join us Wednesdays in this building, 1 p.m. That's all from my side.
Bardzo dziękuję, panie profesorze.
Thank you very much,
za
Professor,
tego
for delivering this interdisciplinary
referatu. Mam nadzieję, że
talk.
zainteresował
And I hope
reprezentantów
that it did
wszystkich
interest
szkół
the
doktorskich.
representatives of
I
all
tym samym, proszę
doctoral
państwa,
schools.
zamykam
With
uroczystość
that, I
inauguracji
am
roku
closing the
akademickiego
ceremony of the inauguration of the
2024-2025
academic year
w szkołach
2024-25
doktorskich
in
na
Doctoral School at
Uniwersytecie
University
Warszawskim.
of
Bardzo
Warsaw.
państwu dziękuję.
Thank you very
Cieszmy
much
się.
and
Gaudamus.
enjoy Gaudamus.